Hey guys, so onto the actual installation and or removal of the stock hop-up for the Tippmann M4s. So basically right here, let me focus in for you guys. Right here would be your stock hop-up unit, and it's held by the adjustment screw located in the ejection port right here for the Tippmann M4. You're gonna unscrew that adjustment screw all the way out. And then for most people, the unit won't just come out if you just turn it upside down. You might need to get something a little bit smaller, put it in that hole and kind of pry it out, give it a little love tap, and while keeping it upside down, it should just fall out. And what it looks like, it's like a little mushroom cap that has a little hole and a flap, and that flap is what gets contacted by the smooth, pointy part of the adjustment screw, of your original hop-up screw. But once you get that out, that's, it's clear as day and it's done at that point. Onto the actual installation of the TDC mod. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna need a standard, just a basic power drill, something that has these clamps that you can tighten down the knob so that way you can hold anything really in those teeth. You're gonna need that. You're gonna need some sort of filer. This is just a really basic, simple filer that I got from Northern Tools or Home Depot. You can pick it up for like a few bucks. Really, really cheap. And you don't have to do this, or as an alternative. Hold on, let me focus in for you guys. Yeah, sorry if it makes a little bit of noise in the video. It's an old DSLR I have. Anyways, so an alternative or an additional step you can do is just get really any basic sandpaper. It doesn't have to be anything too fine. Something a little coarse is actually recommended. Something a little bit coarse, midway. You don't have to get really, really coarse with the sandpaper. Something in the middle ground is fine. Pick up some sandpaper, and then you could go ahead and actually use just the sandpaper alone. It would just take a bit longer, but me, I'm a little bit impatient and I want it done now, so I use a filer with bigger teeth so it can have more bite and can get rid of more material on the unit itself. Now, I know what you're asking yourself, and you're probably thinking, why would we need to do this if it's a full drop-in unit, quote unquote? Well, essentially, it's not exactly a full drop-in unit, and you wouldn't want it to just plop in either, because if it just plops in, imagine if this is this is one of the original experimental nub screws. The nub is just gonna sit in the upper like that, and if the unit itself just falls into the hop-up hole freely, not only will your BBs go through your barrel and get contacted with the bucking really easily, your bucking won't have any bite on the BB, so you won't have any actual hop-up spin, and the unit will just keep bouncing up and down, and you're basically recreating the stock hop-up in a sense, because that's essentially what's the biggest problem with that stock hop-up. It bounces too much in the hole because there's too much wiggle room. There's too much leeway between the walls of the unit and the walls of the upper receiver, and it's not a flat hop. It has this curvature on the end, so it's not exactly giving the most surface area for your hop-up to create backspin on the BBs. So you want the unit to go in the hole as snug as possible. You don't want any play or very little play. It's almost impossible to get zero play, but you shouldn't have to be hammering it in, but you shouldn't also be just dropping it in either. So it should sit in there nice and snug. And in the case that it doesn't, and let's say that you actually over sanded or you filed it down too much, a simple Teflon tape wrap around the unit itself should fix that. Teflon tape is, or basically plumber's tape, if you want to call it that. It helps fill up the gaps, give it some extra material to grab onto the walls of the upper so it doesn't bounce around in there. But yeah, so you want to be extremely careful when you're sanding this down. So basically, it's as simple as getting your power drill and then your filer, and you're just gonna lay it onto your filer or your sandpaper, and you make sure that you're getting equal contact with your filer or your sandpaper, and you're just gonna run it across that. like so. You can see right there, it's got a little bit of material off of it already. And I'm slowly seeing it starting to work it around the unit itself. There you go. So yeah, it's starting to sand it down. Unfortunately, this is a really old power drill, so the juice is not as much. But if you guys got one of the newer power drills, I mean, that's more than plenty what you need. But yeah, you're gonna sand that down to it's a perfect, near perfect fit for your hop-up unit. I'm sorry, your hop-up hull. And once you do that, it's as simple as just carefully sizing it, making sure that it fits. You know, you're gonna constantly keep checking. Here, let me focus on for you guys. God, I hate this camera. Yeah, you're gonna slowly size it, you know, go back and forth, file it down some more. If it doesn't fit, go back to the drawing board, sand it down some more. This should be able to go in with some snugness. It should be able to go in. If not, then you're sanding it incorrectly, or you're sanding too much and it's not working out for you. So yeah, be very careful when you're sanding down. It requires maybe 5 to 10 minutes of actual sanding, and under that, you're good to go. After you do finish sanding it and your unit does drop in freely, I'm sorry, not freely, but it drops in with some bite onto the upper receiver. When you're ready to make your actual final installation of the unit, you want to make sure that on the end that's going in, your upper. So say for instance, this port right here is the end that's going to go in the upper. Your nub is already screwed in, because once you plop this in, you can't take it out unless you were to use the other screw that was used to hold it in the power drill. Screw it in a little bit and then get some sort of pliers or needle nose, grab onto it and just pull it out. But depending on how tight you have the unit in there, that could be a really hard job for you or a really easy job. So you want to make sure that your nub is already screwed in on the unit before you make the final install, because there's no way you can get the nub per se and then screw it from the outside, since your nub will basically get destroyed by the threads on the inside. Yeah, so make sure you get that screwed on before you make the final drop in. And then in addition to the unit itself, I figured, you know, in addition, or I guess an upgrade to the units that I've been making, I will be supplying a little tiny grub screw that is the same diameter of your hop-up screw hole right here. It's just a grub screw that's gonna, if you screw it in all the way, it's gonna bite down onto the hop-up unit. So in the event that you sanded down a little too much and you did the Teflon mod or the Teflon tape wrap around the unit to keep it from bouncing around, and it still bounces around a little bit, that screw should give you a guaranteed security on the unit itself and keep it